And a good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into WKYT Game Time, brought to you each and every week by our good friends at Bluegrass Orthopedics. Dave Baker, along with Alex Walker here, as we're getting you set FaceTime, Game Time, FaceTime, Facebook.
Yeah,
right. We're getting you ready today as we're going to take you down to Jacksonville here in just a few minutes. The NCAA mandated news conferences. We're going to hear from the Kentucky players and then Coach John Calipari as the Cats easily handled Abilene Christian last night, and they face a dangerous Wofford team.
A Wofford team that was essentially, it was a back-and-forth battle with Seton Hall. All of a sudden, Wofford went on a 17-0 run.
That happens. They do that.
And the guy that you need to know before we dive into the rest of the team is Fletcher McGee. Last night setting the record for the all-time threes record in Division I history. Fletcher McGee had 7 threes last night, 24 points. He is a dangerous three-point threat against a Kentucky perimeter defense that isn't very good at stopping the three ball.
Here you go. It's interesting that you say that, and we'll talk about this some more later. But, of course, Scott Padgett, the former Wildcat great, is the coach at Birmingham Southern, saw a great piece online today. Rick Bozich over at WDRB talked to him, and Padgett said McGee is their most outstanding player. Hoover's their best shooter, but Cam Jackson is their most valuable player. So that's how he feels about this team. And what did they win? 19, 21 in a row or something?
21 in a row.
21 in a row in the SoCon.
The longest streaks.
That's right.
Yep.
So 2 of those wins came against Padgett and Samford. Not at Birmingham Southern, but at Samford is Scott Padgett playing for Martin Newton, who's the AD there. Wofford beat Samford 107-106 in overtime. And then they won 85-64 on Samford's home court. So that's just what these dudes can do.
Yeah, this is also a Wofford team that will not back down from a Kentucky team. They're battle tested. No. They almost beat North Carolina in the season opener. They faced Mississippi State. So this is a team of the Power 5 teams they faced, they've either faced them close or beat them. So
and
this is a dangerous team.
They beat Carolina last year in Carolina. Not this year, but last year. Okay, so Kentucky coming off that big win last night. You look at the shooting. The Wildcats 30 of 56 from the field, but their defense was the story as they held Abilene Christian to just 13 points at halftime.
My favorite stat of this game is that Kentucky had as many rebounds, 44, as Abilene did points.
Yeah, there you go.
Obviously, we knew that Kentucky's bigs, with or without PJ, they were going to impose their will on Abilene Christian's big guys, and they did. Battling, in the paint, getting the rebound battle. One thing that was a little, iffy was you wanted to see Nick Richards and E.J. Montgomery really, really overpower Abilene Christian. You didn't quite see that. So they need to make a much bigger stride on Saturday against Wofford to give the fan base a little more confidence if PJ can't play.
Right, and John Calipari addressed that last night, and, obviously he knows what's going on, but I would have to agree with him. You see a guy last night that is in a hard cast. You can't imagine a scenario where they're going to take that cast off today and that he plays tomorrow.
It's amazing how quickly this story has escalated, right? I mean, initially it was, walking boot, fine. Then it's cast. And then you see him rolling in on this contraption that he doesn't want to put any weight on his foot. So it's just kind of escalated from here on out. He's not going to play against Wofford, but moving forward, it's one of the, if not biggest storylines of the NCAA tournament. Kentucky's one of the favorites to win this thing, and without PJ, are they still at that elite level? Are they still at that level to beat the Carolinas, the Virginias, the Gonzagas? We'll have to see.
Strange things have happened, but again, the way Cal does it, if you can't practice, you can't play, and you got a guy that's rolling himself in, as you mentioned last night, on the contraption. I just don't see a scenario where he's, but we'll see.
The one thing I did notice last night, though, about PJ is his body language was at least positive. I mean, he seemed like he was in good spirits on the sidelines. He was very engaged, very involved with the game planning and the team. So at least he's engaged. I don't want to read too much into body language, but at least he was being positive last night and at least coaching EJ and making some of those big guys on the sideline.
And I haven't talked to the fellas, but I'm guessing he was not available for any interviews after the game last night.
He wasn't, and people were I
bet they were
a little upset about that because typically everybody's available no matter what, but PJ was not available to speak to the media last night, so we don't really have any answers from his perspective quite yet.
And I would guess he will not be available to talk to people today either.
No, that is
what my guess would be. Okay, so what we're doing right now now is actually these news conferences were scheduled to have begun at 3:10, I believe, and so that should be taking place just any second. What we do is we get that satellite feed from the NCAA like anybody else, and as soon as that starts, we will in fact go there to you. I don't know if you're monitoring the, oh, there we go. Just as we say that, there you see Emmanuel Quickly, Jamal Baker there on the left, and Nick Richards on the right. So let's head down to Jacksonville for the news conference for the Wildcat players.
In 15 minutes or so. I'll start off then. First impressions of this Wofford team. Did you guys watch the game yesterday? And what do you think of the Terriers? Anybody, go ahead.
I mean, I didn't watch the game, but I know they can shoot the ball really well, and I just know we have to guard the three in order to win the game.
Anybody else? Any other thoughts on Wofford? First thoughts?
Yeah, I watched a little bit at the end of the game yesterday. From what we know, they're a really good three-point shooting team, so that's probably going to be the main focus of what we do.
Let's start off with questions from the right side over here.
Hey, Nick, Adam Zagoria, New York Times. How you doing, man? I got a nice, easy question for you. Coach Cal has obviously recruited New Jersey really well in recent years. You, Karl Towns, Isaiah. He's got Khalil Whitney coming next year. What does that say about the talent level in New Jersey, Nick? And have you given Khalil any kind of words of wisdom about coming to Kentucky?
I mean, I played with Khalil in high school. I played against him a couple times. He's pretty athletic, pretty aggressive dude. You know, New Jersey overall in basketball is kind of taken over from the tri-state area. You know, you could probably say the high school league and from the tri-state area is New Jersey basketball. That's where all the best teams are. That's where all the best athletes are.
Let's go on the.
Honestly, you know, I think just the overall recruiting that coach has done throughout the whole entire country, not just New Jersey, has been really great. He knows what he wants. He recruits good players. And he gets the players that he wants.
Let's go on the front left. Yes, sir.
Mon Lott, FAMU TV 20 News. This question is for Emmanuel. You were a five-star recruit. How different is this stage playing in a tournament? Is it more pressure for you? You know, how are you taking it?
No, I don't really see it as pressure. I played in some pretty big games throughout my whole life. McDonald's game was pretty big. State championships. I mean, NCAA tournament doesn't compare to like a state championship, but you know, I've been prepared for this my whole life, and it's been a great time being a part of this.
Other questions? Raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. Let's go in the aisle in the middle, please. And we'll get up to you next, Gene.
This could be for either one of you guys. When the bracket was released on Sunday and you saw that Wofford was a potential round of 32 matchup, what was your reaction when you saw it?
I didn't really have a reaction. It's our job to get out on the floor and play as hard as we can and win no matter who we're stepping against, and that's what you have to do to win a national championship. So the teams that we saw, that didn't really matter to me.
Let's go on the right side here, please.
Gene Fournette from the Florida Times Union here in Jacksonville. For any one of you who care to answer it, what limited film you may have watched so far on Wofford, just wanted to get your impressions of Fletcher McGee and whether you've seen a three-point shooter who seems to be so willing to contort his body to get tough shots on the smallest of openings and make them with really an uncommon regularity. What your thoughts are when you see him?
I think what makes him such a good shooter is he has a lot of confidence. He also has a really green light. So when you got that green light, you know you're going to make some and you're going to miss some, and he lives with it. He's a really good player, and we just got to be ready for all that.
Questions? Raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. In the very back, please.
Brian Milam, WKYT in Lexington. Early on in the year, the three-point defense was not one of your all's best things that you guys had. Was there a moment this year where the defense really started to click because Cal was really tough on you guys the first month or so?
I think throughout the year, we just had to focus on the little details of, like, getting through screens and things like that. And they emphasized defending the three the whole year. So they just told us in order to win games, you're going to have to really buckle down and be able to defend the three, because there's a lot of teams that can shoot the three.
Other questions? Raise your hand. We'll get a microphone your way. We've got a few minutes left with the guys here. Here on the aisle, please. We'll coming your way.
John Huang, Normal Media. This is for Emmanuel and for Nick. You guys, ever since Jamal showed up on campus, we've been told that he's one of the greatest shooters in the history of mankind. Can you really describe to us how great he is?
Great question. Jamal's a great player. Not only is he a shooter, he locks up on defense. He's a really good teammate. He's my roommate, so he's even a better person. But, what he does for our team is great, and he's going to continue to do great things for our team.
Any more questions? We have a little more time left. Any final questions? Right here on the third row, please. Coming your way.
Aaron Gershon, Sea Blue. Nick, Wofford doesn't start anyone that's taller than 6'9". How big of an advantage is that for you, EJ and Reed?
That's a really good advantage for us. They're not even as athletic as all three of us. They're bigs, that they're really skilled around the basket. They know how to move on the floor. So, but we're just better than them overall, I think. So, it's all the advantages our way, in my opinion.
Any other questions? All right, guys, thanks a lot. Good luck to you. Appreciate it.
Okay, so there you see the Kentucky players. I put the over-under on that at 5 minutes. It actually went about 5:35. Because what happens at those deals is that at the same time those players are up there, the locker room is open.
Yep.
So people like our crew, Lee K. Howard would have been in the locker room. You heard Brian Milam ask a question there as well, and that's what most people did, and I'm sure they probably hightailed it back there to not only talk to the Cal's pretty good about this stuff now, right? Okay. So what's the strength of Wofford, right? It's their outside game, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you bring the guard that you play the least into the interview room, right? Along with two guys that play more inside or on the wing. So I'm sure he doesn't want anybody to inadvertently give anybody any bulletin board material or anything.
And Nick might have slipped something there. I don't know, but Nick was talking about the bigs, and it's the second straight game where UK has a significant size advantage and athletic advantage. We didn't really see Nick and EJ overpower Abilene Christian, which was slightly concerning, but I think they'll rise to the challenge on Saturday against Wofford. I think he said something about their athleticism comparing the two. But,
it's only an advantage if you make it an advantage, and that's the thing to keep in mind here for one of these deals. So as he rolls along and as those guys roll along, I mean, here's the thing. We understand that Wofford can shoot the basketball.
Yep.
I mean, there's no question. We understand that they're tested against other people. But the one thing that I think the Kentucky guards can do, and I think the bigs can do it as well. Okay, so you can go about this thing in a couple of different ways, right? You can go ahead and you can try to deny somebody the ball because if they don't have it, they can't shoot it.
Yep.
You can just get up and guard them. Or you can take your own offense and your own advantage and get some people in foul trouble.
Yep.
Because they can't make a bunch of threes if they're not on the court.
Correct. You have that depth.
Right.
You got 5 fouls, you got 5 fouls, you got 5 fouls. That's certainly an advantage. Make them beat you at the free throw line versus the three-point line. One of the things I picked up from that press conference, you saw Jamal when Brian asked about, you guys aren't one of the best three-point, defending teams in the country. You guys have certainly improved over the course of the year, but what have you concentrated on? What have you buckled down on in practice to improve in that way? And he said, it's just the details. It's fighting through the screens. It's just paying attention. One thing they're going to have to pay attention to on Saturday, Fletcher McGee, watch him. He's one of the best shooters in the country. With his pump fake is incredible, and Seton Hall bit for it way too many times last night, and he torched them. So for UK, they're going to see in the tape, don't bite on the pump fake, stay ground, stay steady, and hopefully that'll keep Fletcher at least grounded. If you can keep him to 20, 22 points, that's probably what you're going to get.
Okay, here's the thing that concerns you so much as we wait for John Calipari, who's scheduled to be up here just any time now. Wofford takes nearly 44% of its field goal attempts from outside the three-point line. That's according to Ken Palm. And why is that concerning? Because Wofford is second in the nation in three-point shooting, making 42% of their three-point shots. So if 44% of your shots are threes and you're making 42% of them, that's pretty good.
Yeah, the teams that have played well against Kentucky this year, if you think about that Alabama game, why did they beat them? They made, 13, 14 threes. Auburn didn't beat them, but they also are a similar team. It's almost like Wofford's Auburn, but just not as athletic. But this is one of those teams, Wofford, if you took Wofford's name off their jersey and let's say put like TCU on it or something, you would be like, oh man, Wofford's really good. Don't get stuck up on the name, and I know John Calipari is stressing that to his players. Don't think of it as this Wofford. Who's Wofford? Who are the This team is legitimate, and they should be there. They're a 7 seed for a reason.
Oh, yeah, and they played a very challenging schedule, and that's going to be part of what the deal is for the Wildcats tomorrow as they take on Wofford. Again, you can see that game right here on WKYT. It'll be the second of 4 that you'll see here tomorrow. Tip-off is at approximately 2:40 p.m. They take it 25 minutes after the conclusion of Game 1 that's there, so you'll be able to see that right here as well.
And people on Facebook are actually, in case you guys are just joining us now, asking for some more updates on PJ's status moving forward. All we know at this point is that he's still in that cast. John Calipari said last night that, look, we're going to take the cast off, see how the healing is, but I would not count on him for Saturday against Wofford. And then moving forward, I think his status for the time being is up in the air, but all we know is that he still has that hard cast on, and they're just being very, very precautionary.
Right, and I think at this point in time, you got to plan on the fact that he's not going to be there, because I'm no medical person, but you look at the visual, and somebody that's got a hard cast on, I just don't think it's likely that they get that thing taken off.
He's not going to play in 24 hours.
I wouldn't think so. Let's see. Last night, Wofford, 26 out of 54 from the field. They were 13 of 28 from outside the three-point line, 19 of 23 from the free throw line for 84 points. Now, listen, I don't know exactly, what their strategy is. Mike Young has done a great job. He's kind of a lifer there. He loves coaching, and he coaches. And I'm sure he does well at Wofford, but he can probably coach because his wife is like a partner in PricewaterhouseCoopers. So, he can get that coach's salary. But in any event, they score some points, and maybe they're just going to give up certain baskets and not get their guys in foul trouble. And that's why you see their scores a lot of times, not only because of the three-point shooting, but because okay, fine. You're going to make some baskets, but that's okay. Our guys are going to stay on the floor, and we're going to make baskets too.
If Kentucky, if this becomes a sort of game where it's a run and gun, a very high tempo style of play, you got to count on Keldon producing like he did last night. He had 25 points. You need Keldon to produce. You need more than 14 from Tyler Hero. He didn't make a single three. They didn't need it against Abilene Christian.
But he was 7 of 12 from the field.
Yeah, which was efficient. He looked smooth. He looked comfortable. A lot of times you watch these freshmen, do they look comfortable? Keldon certainly did. Tyler certainly did. Reed, he's been there for a while, but it was his NCAA tournament debut as well. He never played in the tournament at Stanford. They're going to have to produce, and you want to see an unlikely performance too. Maybe an Emmanuel quickly producing 12 points off the bench. Maybe you see Jamal come in and hit a couple buckets. But if PJ's not here for the time being in the foreseeable future, once this isn't Abilene Christian anymore, this is the time where you really need to see some performances from guys that maybe sit on the bench a little more than start.
You can't be upside down in terms of key stats as well. And the Cats had 10 assists, 12 turnovers last night. You got to have, usually twice the amount of assists that you do turnovers. They only had 1 block shot last night and just 5 steals, while Abilene Christian had 9 steals. So, first game, everything. You don't know how everybody's going to react to the whole PJ thing and all that. But, I mean, they've got to tighten it up. And I understand it's basketball, but you better have that chin strap on tight tomorrow, because this is going to be a test. And, Cal says everybody's got something to play for in this tournament. Well, I think he's wrong in this standpoint. I mean, these dudes are playing with house money.
They are. Let's quickly take a look around the rest of the NCAA tournament. Look, I don't want to put any pressure on for those of you that think Virginia.
Absolutely not.
Virginia is already down 6 to the 16 seed Gardner-Webb. It won't happen 2 years.
How much time?
But you never know. There's still 12 minutes left in the first half.
That's all right.
Other games in action right now: Gardner-Webb over Virginia, 12-6. The game currently on WKYT right now: Tennessee. They lead Colgate 26-18 in Columbus. The first game of the day in Columbus, we saw Iowa come all the way back to beat Cincinnati. Mick Cronin once again an early exit in the Big Dance, and the Big Ten is now 6-0. in the tournament. The SEC is 4-1. They went 4-0 yesterday with LSU, Auburn winning, Florida winning, Kentucky winning. And then today, Ole Miss gets blown out by Oklahoma. So Kermit Davis, a great year, but an early exit. But so those are some of the early scores. Texas Tech up 66-50 over Northern Kentucky, the fourth and final Kentucky team to be playing their first-round game. UC Irvine up 42-39 over Kansas State. I know you had Kansas State going deep before Dean Wade was injured.
Right,
so
right,
the
right.
Anteaters are up 3 there.
Couple of things before I forget. Some news in the SEC before John Calipari comes up in just a little bit. Bryce Drew, at the end of his third season, was fired as the head coach down at Vanderbilt today. I think they ended up losing their last 19. First time in 65 years that they had gone winless. David Williams, the athletics director who had hired him, retired in December and then tragically passed away just a few weeks later. New AD comes in and he decides he's going to make a move. So Bryce Drew is out after 3 years. And surprisingly, Avery Johnson, who came to Alabama all ballyhooed from the NBA and everything, this the end of his fourth season. He and athletics director Greg Byrne, who was one of Mitch Barnhart's assistants here, they met the other night after the regular season finale. Then I think they lost at home to who, Norfolk or something like that in the NIT?
Yeah, they lost to Norfolk State in the NIT.
State.
They were 17-point favorites and lost that game.
And so they are now negotiating a buyout. Everybody says that's going to be a done deal, but let's go to Jacksonville now for UK head coach John Calipari.
Oh, we'll go to you next.
Gary Smith, Florida Times-Union. John, the SEC went 4-0 yesterday. Tennessee looks like it's going to win right now. The only loss right now is Ole Miss, and Mississippi State's playing tonight.
Did Ole Miss lose?
Yeah, they
what
did.
was the score?
Yeah, not real good. But the SEC has won 5 out of 6 games so far. So could you comment on the state of the conference in this tournament so far?
Well, we had so many close games in our league, games that were down to the last 2 minutes. You know, it just toughened every team up. And so, like, you're looking at a bunch of teams that have walked in and they're good. Our league is really good. We got 7 teams, probably should have had 8. You know, when you see it, and I'm disappointed for Mississippi because they had a heck of a year. I mean, they literally had a heck of a year, and I don't know why that would have happened. I mean, terrific guards and athletes, and then Mississippi State's got to play tonight. Who do they play?
Liberty.
Mm-hmm. They're good too.
Let's go here on the right side, please.
John, Gene Fournette from the Florida Times-Union. As you watch film on Wofford last night, not just about their three-point shooting overall as a team, but Fletcher McGee in particularly, could you talk a little bit about how he seems to not even be fazed about contorting his body to take shots that probably other players wouldn't be comfortable taking? And is there anybody that he reminds you of in any way?
Well, first of all, you got to give it to Coach Young, who says, you have the green light, now respect it, and I'm going to take some of these because I know you're going to make some. Then I heard that he is absolutely in the gym hours on end shooting those shots that you're talking about, that he's in that gym, which is why the coach says all the time you're in there and that's the shots you're taking, you deserve to be able to do it in a game. You know, you try to tell a young team like mine, this isn't football, it's not a touchdown, so don't foul. Make it hard. He's still going to make some of them. Make it difficult for 40 minutes. He's still going to make some of them. You know, when I watched the tape last night, the tapes, and this morning, just a well-coached, offensively, they do what they need to do to win, and they play in a way that they have to play. Their dribble handoffs. I mean, Jackson, I watched the game early in the year, and then I watch him now, so much better. They said Nick was in there saying that our bigs are quicker than, what are you doing, Nick? I mean, but that's okay because, like, if you speak, now what? You back it up. So I love his confidence. Now I want to watch you do it. Now get out there and do it. If you think that. And I want Nick to be more confident, not like that, but on the court, more confident. So.
Let's get a mic, Gene. I'm sorry. Thank you.
the follow-up, does Fletcher McGee remind you of any other three-point type of shooter?
You know who I saw in him and how he played? I thought, and the closest I could get to him is how I used to play, which I used to just shoot every ball like that. And I thought, I saw myself doing those kind of things. And I know I was rated the 41st. There were 40 college coaches better than me I'll go one-on-one right now. Let's go. You got guys older than me. They said they were better than. Come on. Anyway, I'm just kidding.
Let's go front left here.
How you doing, Coach? Over here. I'm on Lot, FAMU TV 20 News. Reed Travis had 18 points, 9 rebounds yesterday. We talked about Nick Richards as well. Came off the bench, 8 points, 4 rebounds. How big are those two guys going to be in the matchup tomorrow?
How about EJ had 11 rebounds? Wow. He played well. And it's another game that we're going to have to do that. But look, they've got athletes at the 4 position, and that's if I'm calling Jackson a 5, which I don't know if he is, that really are long and active and go after it. They've got their 4 or 5 guards who are, 1, 2s, and 3s, and they got 5 of them that score. A couple of them drive a little bit better. A couple of them shoot. But they're going to take 25, 26 threes in this game. I don't care what we do. They're going to take them. And if they're spinning in the air and they're going in, it's a tough night. I just don't want us to foul them. And so contest. Now, the one thing that we do have is we're long. So we can contest without fouling because of our length. But, again, they've just, the year. I called this. I knew we'd be playing this team, and my team knew. And, because I told them before, we would be playing Wofford. Because you and I know how hard this game will be, especially with PJ out, how hard a game it'll be for us. I don't think there's any, we're a favorite. Come on now. This team is legitimate in every form and fashion, including defense, including toughness, including veteran play. Yesterday we started 4 freshmen. So
next question on the right, please.
John, you said PJ out there. Is that official, and do you have any other update on him?
Yeah, I just can't imagine. What they're going to do at some point is cut the cast off and say, okay, they just felt it would heal faster. I know all this. There's conspiracy. I'm telling you, it was negative in every X-ray, MRI. We even did an RIM. It's a sprain. But we just, and you guys that know me know that I'm overly cautious because it's these kids' careers, and I get it. And I know this, he really wants to play, but I also want to feel comfortable that if he gets on the court, that there's nothing he can do to himself. And the doctors have pretty much said that. So it's just, okay, when is it healed enough that he can go?
Let's go here in the middle on the right side.
Coach, Adam Zagoria, New York Times. Obviously, your biggest priority here is Wofford, but you also put a lot of guys in the NBA, and you've made that a priority. How much can guys like Keldon and Tyler help themselves going forward by playing well in this tournament? And have you ever had a guy really kind of help his stock with a big NCAA tournament?
I've had a bunch of guys do that, but it's not just our guys, it's everybody. These kids are all being evaluated this 3-week period. Believe me when I tell you, it overrides anything that's happened all summer. I can remember the kid, I think it was he played for Gary Williams at Maryland, and he wasn't thought of as a player that was going pro, and he went on an unbelievable run I'm forgetting his name right now, in the NCAA tournament, and he ends up being a top 10 pick, and he wasn't a guy that was even on the board that they were thinking about. And I just say this to, for all these kids, and that's why I respect these kids, because not only is the tournament there, the national championship there, their own being and their own family and all the stuff that these my guys are 19-year-olds have to deal with. I tell them all the time, I respect you guys so much. And then you have like social media, and you have the clutter, and you have the lists, and you have all the other stuff, and they got to block all that out and play. And it's not for funsies. It's for real. And so, you know, that's why this tournament is what it is. You just don't know. And you want to say, well, we know that team's, you don't know. This is hard for these kids.
Let's go in the aisle here, and we'll go here next.
Hi, John. John Huang, NOLA Media. You didn't complain quite as much this year when the brackets first came out. And now CBS has given you two relatively decent start times. Do you think that the paranoia of the world against John Calipari may have been ratcheted down a little bit this year?
I just say, is it paranoia if you turn around and a guy's chasing you and you can see the knife? I'm not sure that's paranoia. You just run like hell. I've never, that's not true. I'm not worried about it. I think as I get older, I could care less. My give-a meter is just don't care. And we go on and do what we do. And the crazy thing is it's never really had an effect on me, my programs. It just hasn't. And maybe they figured out, forget about him. We're not hurting him. Let's go hurt somebody else. I don't know. I mean, but pretty dumb question, though, John.
We've got about 5 minutes left. Let's go on the far left, third row. Yes, sir.
Coach Sean Bowdy, Wave 3. Yesterday you were talking about dealing with injuries and especially a short bench. And with a game in such, I guess, quick turnaround like it is now, you mentioned conditioning and how important that is. How much of an advantage do you think that is for your team, especially with a game with such short turnaround?
Anytime you're trying to play 8 guys, it's really dangerous. You know, anything happens, you're down to 7. Another thing happens, you're down to 6. What if the 6 are not the right 6? So it's really dangerous what we're doing, and it could come back to bite us. But guess what? We have no choice. I tried to trade for some guys, and we just couldn't get any bites. So this is who we have. And like today, we went pretty hard and really got them to focus. And I was on some guys because I thought they weren't the energy they needed. They didn't have them. And the reason is you got to fall back on your training. You play to your training. And if you've trained right, you can do that for 40 minutes. And this thing's about playing for 40 minutes, staying focused, staying engaged for 40 minutes of basketball when the other team's trying to do the same thing. And then you may play a team that shoots 25 threes and shoots some of the worst threes, and they go in. That could demoralize you. And then all of a sudden you're looking and they're back cutting and they're coming off dribble handoffs and they're making. It is what it is. I mean, at this time, how can you stay focused on us? And I know how good, Wofford is. I know, I've watched them, and I know their top 4 teams in that league. I hate to tell you, they all 4 should have been in the NCAA tournament when you think about who was in their league. But Coach Young, the job he's done with this team, he's been there 17 years. And to put this together and have this, he's a 7 seed. And to come from outside the Power 5 and be a 7 seed, that's a big deal. It's a big, big deal.
Let's go here in the middle, please. Third from the back.
Coach, just in terms of recruiting, had you ever heard or seen of John Morant on the summer circuit or anything? And when's the first time you kind of became aware of him? Because he obviously kind of snuck through the cracks there. I hadn't, but I'm not like I was as an assistant where I knew every player, and I don't. I know who we're recruiting. And so, no, I didn't. But, what a run he's having, and how good is that for Murray? And I don't know if you know the story that he committed to Murray, and when everybody figured out how good he was, some other Power 5s tried to jump in there and say, we're offering you a scholarship. And he says, nope, I'm going right to these people. They were there. They've been there from the beginning. And what a great story, and what a great thing for Murray. And, he's a terrific player now. Whew.
We've got time for 2 more. Let's go in the very back standing up.
John, you mentioned a team could take a lot of the worst threes you've ever seen, and they go in and it demoralizes.
If they take 25, there'll be about 4 of those, maybe 5, that you say, wow. And then I hear he practices them. He does. So how bad is it if it's a practice shot? I had Jamal Murray, who used to shoot left-handed falling down. Why would you do that? Because I can make it. And I think this kid's exactly the same way. Why did you take that? Because I thought it was going in. I mean, I don't think he shoots one shot that he didn't think he's making. So is it a bad shot? Maybe you think so, but in his mind, he doesn't. And you know who else doesn't think it's a bad shot? His coach. Where was he when I was playing?
Sorry to interrupt you, Coach. Let's go in the aisle here, please. We'll make this our final question.
John, one of the reasons we love you so much is because of all the
just love me.
the buzzwords.
Everybody here love me.
All the buzzwords and the catchphrases that you throw out to us during the course of the year. One I've really been intrigued by is the idea of the players conquering themselves. That almost sounds spiritual. Where does that come from, and how do you think the players have done in terms of conquering themselves this year?
Before you can conquer someone else, you got to conquer yourself. And I say it all the time. A lot of it means conditioning. A lot of it means pushing through comfort. A lot of it means don't drink that poison when you're flattered. You're so good. You should be taking more shots. You're better than so-and-so. Why aren't you shooting when he shoots? He's fine when you shoot. You come out if you miss. Do you drink that poison? Because if you drink that poison, you can never conquer yourself because you already have built-in excuses. And so for these kids to conquer themselves, to be in the best physical and mental condition in their lives, to master their craft. Are you in the gym? Are you mastering your craft? Well, I should be able to miss 5 straight shots. No, you shouldn't, especially if they're open. They just talked about Villanova making 7 of 8 uncontested shots. That's why they won. They were uncontested. Well, when we're uncontested, we think we should be able to, well, I don't have to make every one. Well, how about making almost all of the uncontested ones and miss some others? All that conquering you, knowing that you're responsible for yourself, knowing you own your performance. You own that. That's conquering yourself. And if you can't conquer yourself, you're not conquering anybody else. And we, as a young team all the time, you got to be able to understand you're not in great shape. You're not focused right now. You're not engaged right now because it's really hard to be that guy. But that's where you conquer yourself. So, yes, there's a lot of stuff that we have to give these kids to think about because it's moves pretty fast around here.
Coach, thank you very much. Good luck to you. Thanks, sir.
Okay, so there you go. John Calipari and the players. He's a little different than Nick Saban. He talks about rat poison, and Cal talks about drinking the poison, right?
Yeah. He was very. I love John Calipari press conferences. When you see Swaggy Cal, you know he's in a good mood, and he feels good about his team going into that Wofford matchup on Saturday.
Okay, got a lot more to go. We have got our crew down in Jacksonville. They'll begin reports in just 15 minutes from now. You'll be hearing from Alex later as well as Lee Kay and with Brian. And so we look forward to seeing you at 4. Remember the game right here on WKYT tomorrow afternoon beginning at 2:40, a live edition of Wildcat warm-up at 11:30 before NCAA action begins. For Alex Walker, I'm Dave Baker. Thanks for being with us. So long, everybody.